Welcome back. We are continuing right where we left off. We are still in the same spot. Haven't caught any fish yet. We're actually back in this same bream and chub spot, starting at a little bit of an awkward time in terms of the time of day. So we're going to fish for bream for a couple of in-game hours, and then we'll transition to chub and then try to get a full night of bream fishing in and see if this spot continues to produce like it was for us yesterday. Well, we're off to a good start here as I'm making baits. Wow. Now this is our new rig, but because we need to earn some money first, we haven't been back to Old Berg to get the the bigger leader for it. But if you saw the end of my last video, we did just purchase our first Adriatica, so we are moving up in the world. We are now starting to collect the gear that we will need to fish at Quarry, for bottom fishing at Quarry, so it's all very exciting. And finding these good bream spots, both the one at Old Berg and now this one at Winding, is certainly has been really helpful in terms of earning some good silver so that we can start increasing our gear. Yeah, and I think I made the right decision to start with bream here. We've gotten 3 really good bream right in a row. I've also decided to pretty much just focus all of the casts basically into this hole here, the 3.5 hole, the end of it. If you kind of look and see, we're sort of casting all in this area with all 3 of our rods. And then for chub, of course, we'll be casting over there at that tree that's in the ground. So we need to make some new ground bait. Oh wait, I don't have the ingredients. I don't have any of the ingredients. So since chub fishing is a little slower, maybe what we'll do is once we transition to chub, we'll run and get the ground bait mats. Let me see where I really am on ground baits. We've got plenty. Oh yeah, we've got plenty of both. We should be fine. 3 fish, all really nice bream already. And I think I'm going to keep this up till about 10 a.m. And once we see the bream size declining consistently, I think it'll make sense to switch to chub. But I can't tell you how much I'm liking this Fantasia rod with, of course, our new Adriatica reel. Starting to come together. But we're not going to really see a difference in strength, at least not significant, because we're still using the 5.4 liter. But that 5.4 liter is more appropriate on this rig than it was on the way we've got them set up before, where really 5.4 is stronger than our line. So as we upgrade, that 5.4 will make more sense. And it may just be that 5.4 is a better leader size for this spot. I don't know. I think if we did go to 6 something on the leader, which this first rod with the Adriatica and the 7.5 line could certainly handle 6 something leader, we also could increase the hook size a little bit for the chub fishing, and we might get into a little larger size chub. I think size 6, even 4 has worked, but size 6 might be the sort of in-between size for trying to get a little bigger chubs. Let's make sure there's not something on this. Let's just slack a little bit. So just like we did last time, my goal at this point will be to upgrade all 3 rigs and then focus on crafting baits all the way to 50% so that we can get fish pieces. So critical to be to really have options for feeder fishing at Quarry is to get to the point where you have fish pieces. I think I'm going to go ahead and switch this first one over. So we go from the Bream substitute to the Bream variant. Everything else is the same except for changing the bait. And now we want to change the clip to 20. That was a little bit of a... that cast didn't quite go full 20. But it was close. I think we just have a bugged out bell here. Okay. So as hopefully we do catch something on the garlic dough, we'll switch them over to Grasshoppers since it has seemed to have slowed down. Temperature's gone up pretty quick. It's a sunny day. Looks like it's just still got that slight bug to that bell. Okay, I was really kind of surprised that neither one of these had gotten a bite. It looks like something was on this. Oh, a little gudgeon on my garlic dough. Okay. Yeah, we need to cast a little harder with these rigs. We're not making it all the way over to that tree. Oh, that's weird. There is a fish on. Okay. So Grasshopper most likely is going to be a chub or an eyed. I may be able to tell in a minute here. Frankly, I'm not sure. So someone asked me on a video if I could talk a little bit about why I don't pump the fish more. In other words, they are watching other people stream and play the game, and they're seeing a lot of people doing a lot of holding their right mouse button down and pumping the fish up, and then reeling it as it goes back down, and then pumping it again. And I think there's 2 things. I don't necessarily have a great answer for that, but I think there's 2 things that come to mind. The first thing I would say is, when I'm on my main account or my main alternate account, which are both, my main account is over 30, my alternate account is almost 30. And I've got really nice gear, and by nice I mean highly rated, well put together gear. I'm a lot more confident. Oh, and also typically going after bigger fish, or at times going after bigger fish. I'm a lot more confident to do the whole right mouse button pumping method. When you've got a really big carp, certainly a catfish, there's just a lot of species of fish where it is really helpful to lift them up into the water, off of the floor of the ground of the bottom, and get them moving in the right direction, build up that momentum. And I suppose you could use that technique on any fish you have. This is my thing though. When I started playing this game, I just noticed that anytime I hit the right mouse button early when I was leveling, those were the moments that I would often lose fish. And I think it had to do with mainly having cheaper hooks, just cheaper gear, not as high quality gear all the way around. And so sometimes those fish just slip right off. Now, what I was told was that the longer you fight a fish, the less likely it is to come off. So you can become more and more secure in the fact the longer the fight goes that that hook is good in place, that there's some sort of mechanic that's simulating that idea in the way that the game is programmed. So the longer that I fight a fish, the more likely I am to start pumping it. The other thing I would say is that I took a break from this game back soon after Belaya River came out. So before they added, or around the time they added Ladoga, and certainly Octuba came out when I wasn't playing very much. And if I'm not mistaken, I haven't gone back to look at the patch notes, but if I'm not mistaken, around that time, they did change the way some of the mechanics work on even what, like, this yellow bar that can turn red at the bottom of the screen, what it even is signifying, how it is calculated. And since that change in the game, I think it's become a little more common to see people pushing their brakes up towards max drag, having a lot more confidence fishing with their tension bar in the red. Obviously not all the way full red, but into the red. And so to me, it's just sort of balancing, okay, as I get a little nicer gear, I start pushing it a little more, and all of those things. But I don't know if that's really an answer to the question that was asked in the comments of the video, but that's sort of a little bit about my background with the game, my sort of idea about it when I was first playing it and leveling, and why I stay away from the right mouse button maybe a little more than some people do. But if you see me streaming, or if you see me playing on my main accounts, you'll see me doing it a lot more, especially if I'm fishing and there's catfish, sturgeon, carp, the bigger species that you really have to sort of work them in, right? These fish, my goal with these fish is to keep them on the line. They're going to get tired. They're going to get worn out. I'm going to eventually get them in as long as I don't lose them, right? So that's sort of the way I approach it. I could probably take some chances, even right here with this fish. This is a good example. I could go up a notch, 24. Okay, now it's in the red. I could pump it, start getting it a little higher in the water, reel it in as it comes back down. I mean, I could certainly do those things. Maybe get it in a little more quickly. Maybe it'd be a little more efficient. But in my mind, fishing on a Lacerti with a fairly inexpensive hook with this cheap mono line and all of those factors together, I'm like, you know what? I actually want to get this fish in. This fish getting in at my level, the amount of silver that it's worth, the amount of experience that it's worth, it is worth me being really careful and mindful of it. And so if I'm thinking about it, that's what I'm doing. That's my approach. Now, if you see me bream fishing, even on this account, I get into this rhythm. I'm like, okay, we just got to get these bream in so we can get that bait back in the water and get another one on the line, because we want to catch as many as we can in the amount of time we have. And so then you'll start seeing me take chances. I'm shift reeling more. I'm hitting the right button more. And then you'll see all of a sudden a fish will pop off and I'll be like, oh yeah, I don't have a 60 silver hook on this account that 9 times out of 10 is going to stay on there no matter what I do. Or I don't have a loop rig, or I don't have whatever that just increases the chances of being able to work through some of those riskier techniques. So what do we think this is? It's an eyed or a chub? It looks eyedish to me. Actually, I don't know what it is. I'm going to be really honest with you right now. I'm not sure what this fish is. It's not an eyed. It's not a chub. What is that? Holy cow. It's a trophy chub. So mental note, trophy chubs don't really look like chubs at all. Well, that's amazing. That is amazing. I mean, that kind of makes the whole thing worth it, right? Alright, let's see what we've got on over here. What a way to start the video out. Switching from Bream to chub and then landing a trophy chub. It's pretty awesome. Alright. Still need to cast that one a little farther. I might just put these at 21 meters instead of 20. And we definitely need to get this in. This garlic dough has been sitting there for a long time, not catching anything. So we want to go ahead and rotate that one out. And let's put grasshoppers on. And let's go ahead and put this one at 21 for sure. Make sure we cast it all the way over there. Yeah, I like that. Wow. How about that trophy chub? 6.3. A region record chub. Global weekly chub. 6.3. That was the second largest chub ever caught at Winding on the USA server. It's pretty amazing. This is the smallest chub ever caught at Winding. Now, can we just get the trophy chub order? Next time we catch a fish on one of our asterias, I think I'm going to try to see if we can nab a couple gudgeons or bleaks or something here on a float rod just for a minute to kind of show you what that process is like. If you haven't seen this spot before, usually at higher levels, people will come here with really fine fluorocarbon line on and catch a bunch of bait fish, gudgeon and bleak, on float rods. And then they'll take those bait fish to wherever it is they're going to fish and fish with them at the higher level lakes. Alright, this is a chub, so okay, we'll do it on that one for now. So let's go to a depth of about, we don't want to go super deep, I don't think. Let's try 30. And let's see if that works. Almost lost it. Almost lost it. Overconfidence with our nice new reel. Had the friction brake way up and almost blew it there. It's definitely a chub. You see the way it like worms in the water? Man, that trophy chub, again, did not look like a chub to me. I thought it was going to be... I don't even know what I was thinking it was. I had a thought in my head as we were reeling it in when we saw it, and I was like, oh, it's not a chub or an eyed. It's, and I don't know what I was thinking it was, but I was thinking it was something. I mean, I knew it wasn't a bream. I think I was thinking it was a predator fish that you sometimes catch here on spinner baits. What was I thinking of? Here, let's look at the Winding Rivulet. Oh, I was thinking it was an asp. I was thinking, is this an asp on my grasshopper? I just really, I could not wrap my mind around what it was going to be. So what people typically do is they cast, you know, we're using bloodworms. There's a lot of different baits you can use for this. But they cast it out, you drift with the current, and you just wait for the bite. Now I've got it set at pretty shallow, which I think works. Oh yeah, there you go. But you can also do, that's a perch though. You can also do more deep, like up to like a meter depth, and that would also probably work pretty good. I'm impressed today. The bite rate has been higher on the chub than it was yesterday. So if the bite rate, plus we got that trophy, it stays this high, and we catch bream pretty decently at night, this spot is only getting better. All right. Let's try this again, see if we can get a gudgeon or a bleak. The thing we don't have that you normally would is a fluorocarbon line. And so we're not going to have the same rate of success that we would if we were on my main account coming back here with that really fine line and nice hook and all that. But we'll still catch some fish off this setup. Which, you know, if you're leveling through here, I'm not suggesting that you do this instead of having 3 rods on the chub, because the chub and the bream are just too good right now. I'm just kind of trying to have some variation every once in a while. But especially if the chub bite slows down, this is something we could do to sort of supplement that during the day. And we try it at different depths too. Again, this is pretty shallow the way I have it set up. I thought that the gudgeon and bleak might prefer it a little shallow, but I may have that wrong. And you see it says drifting with the current. Much like when we're doing our float fishing at Tuba, you want to get that bonus of the drifting with the current thing. You want to kind of keep that going. I think we have a fish on. Kind of watch our, oh yeah, our float's underwater, so might miss that bite. Oh. We need some ground bait. Oh, that's a perfect cast. If I could only have it there every time. Alright, what's it doing? It's still going under. There's still fish playing with it. But it's not worth missing one of these just to catch a little gudgeon, bleak, or another perch. Wow. This bite rate is crazy. All right, we got to get that float rod out of the water. The chub are just too good right now. I knew that would be a good cast. That was like right where you want it, sort of in the shade of the tree over there. Alright, let's put that up. We'll save that for another day when the chub aren't killing it like they are right now. And one thing that to me points to how healthy the chub are is that we haven't seen a single little eyed, which I don't mind catching eyed. Eyed are actually fantastic to catch too, but the chub are so prevalent right now that eyed haven't had a chance to get it. Now as we approach nighttime and bream time, we should see an increase in eyed activity if they're still here at all. All these 1 kilo chubs are just terrific. I cast that way too hard. You see it bounced back some instead of landing right in the tree shade there. But if you look at our chubs right now, of course the trophy, 2.7, 1.1, 1.0, 9.9, sorry, 952 grams, 770 grams, 687. So really nice grouping of chubs. I mean, they're pretty much always on. They're not always pulling the line, some of the smaller ones especially, but they're pretty much always on. I mean, we're gonna have to buy some more grasshoppers at Old Berg, which is fine. I want to maybe get a hook or two, as well as, that's a nice cast, as well as a another couple of leaders. Yeah, you see someone just caught a bleak. And if you ever want to say hello, even while I'm making the video, if you happen to be in game, feel free to come join me in the chat channel we made for my stream, which is, if you just search for My Dogs, MY space DAWGS. Anyone is welcome to join. And I haven't done this in a while, but I used to just randomly hand out bait to people that were in that chat channel, and certainly enjoyed chatting with folks during my streams and such. There's a little bleak. Little bleaks are fun fish to catch. So are the gudgeons. It's a lot more fun when you can turn the smaller ones into live bait, but well, if the chubs slow down a little bit, it'll make it easier to decide when to switch to bream. I've been debating that sort of internally here, but I think sometime between 20 and 2100 is when makes the most sense. But there's a roach. So what is this saying about the time of day and chub? It may not be saying anything, but it could be saying that we are past the prime time for chub. This is when I was expecting we might catch an eyed or two, if they are in fact around at the moment. I think at 20, which what's that, at 8 p.m., we're going to switch, sort of start switching things over towards Bream. We have certainly seen a significant drop off here in the bite rate. Wore out those chub. There's something going on that line. There's a fish on it, just doesn't know it yet. It's like down the river. Is it drifting? What's going on? What in the world? It is drifting, isn't it? Did we just get it off the bottom and it got caught up in the current? It's kind of weird to me. We do have little 15-gram feeders on here that should weigh it down a little bit. Alright, let's start switching over. See what we've got here. It is a little chub, isn't it? Now, I think if we put those grasshoppers in the middle, if they're there at all, that's where we might catch the eyed. If we fish kind of in the same place we're fishing for bream, if we put those grasshoppers in there, we might get some decent eyed. How does this look on... yeah, that looks good. Bream time has begun. So right around that 2100, 9 p.m. You can tell I'm not used to working in military time. 9 p.m. It's time to get your garlic dough in the water. The other thing that is important, if you haven't seen some of my other videos, or if someone haven't told you about this, it's really important not to point your rod tip at the fish once it's on the line. You want to keep somewhat keep it up in the air a little bit, because it keeps that pressure on there. It's naturally lifting the fish up out of the water, which helps, and it also keeps the tension in a higher level to decrease the chances that it pops off early in the catching of the fish. All right, looks like a bigger bite on this rod, so let's pull this one in first. Looks like a good one. This is also a marker, though. Four out of 5 bream there. Really nice ones. Looks like this is another smaller one. There's some red worm. 2 pieces too. Getting a bite on the middle rod. It's a little indecisive. Usually once you have a bream, you have a bream. Thankfully they are not among the fish that nibble the most, but they will sometimes play with it a little bit. It's a little small fella. Couldn't hardly get his mouth on there. What a good fishing day this has been so far. Hopefully we will continue to catch some bream, and then I think at the end of this video what I'll do is go ahead and go to Old Berg, buy some more grasshoppers, and get that leader. If it's in stock. Not all of them are in stock at Old Berg, but a lot more than what's here in Mosquito. Is that a marker? Nope. See, that tip has a little bend to it. It's getting a fish on. Hopefully it's not another small one. That's a quick bite on this one. That does seem to be a small one. It's not even a bream. That's a blue bream. Wow, what a good fish. Blue bream are one of the more rare and also valuable of the breams, small bream species. This will be fun to sort of, at the end of this fishing, see what has the most value. If I remember to do it, the other thing that we'll do is we'll experiment, since we've got to go to Oldburg anyway. We'll take care of any cafe orders that are here, if there are any, and then we will see what the value of the fish would be selling them here, and then we'll take them to Oldburg and see if we get a couple more silver. Look at this. All of a sudden, blue bream are biting. I am really curious about this. Let's see what the weekly is on blue bream in terms of baits that they're being called on. Volkov, bark beetle, Volkov, bloodworm. And then all time at Winding, redworm and worm. That's more what I would expect. Seeing them come out on garlic dough here. Should we put some redworm in the water? We do have up to 11 now. You can definitely make some good silver in a hurry if you get on a blue bream streak. And I'll tell you right now, if this is a blue bream, we are in we're in business. All right, so regular bream. Let's see what's on this middle rod, and let's put a redworm out there for one fish, one cycle. See if we happen to get lucky. It'll be a small sample size, but let's just test it since we caught that blue bream. The issue is there's a lot of other things we'll catch on that redworm instead of just the bream. Where garlic dough does such a good job targeting the bream overnight. We have not had a bite on our number one rod in a minute here. The other two have been pretty active though. If that keeps up, we'll move the one rod a little bit farther north. It's definitely the one that we have the farthest south. Or west, I guess, really is what it is. Just some really good fish. There we go. There we go. That'll be a marker. I can definitely feel a strength difference in this front line, even though we do have the same leader on there. That reel just grinds through it a little better. And it should. It's a nicer reel than those Lacerites for sure. All right, let's check the red worm. Let's make sure nothing's just sitting there eating it. That's a fast bite. And that fish just took it. Not playing around. Yeah, to me it looked like this line had moved locations a little bit. So I thought there might have been a fish on there. We don't want to spend too much more time with the red worm in there, but I think it will get a fish pretty quick. I don't think we'll have to wait too long. Alright, there it goes. Our red worm experiment has come to fruition. Okay, looks like something small. It is a blue bream. Okay, let's go for part 2 then. Honestly, to target blue bream, you probably want a little smaller hook. 8 hook is pretty big, but we'll just stay with it for now. Did not expect to find blues in this spot, but this has been fun. I know when I first started playing, though, I had a tendency when I was reeling the fish in to point the rod just too low because I was trying to see the fish. But that can definitely lead to some issues. So try to keep it up in the water. You'll get in the habit of being able to sort of use your Z or zoom button, especially once you get binoculars. But even before, to still be able to see the fish without lowering your rod too much. If you'll notice, when I put the shovel away, I try not to grab a rod too quickly as to attempt to avoid the bug that you've seen happen if you've watched some of my previous videos. If you pick something up too quickly after putting something down, the game will just sort of bug out on you. So give it time to complete the motion of picking it up or putting it away before trying to do something else. Alright, unless that's a really good fish on the red worms. We're going to go ahead and switch it to garlic dough because we are missing out on some decent bream here by not having garlic dough in. But it's worth experimenting here. That's a regular bream. Alright, let's go garlic dough. And get some more ground bait in there. But you could target blue bream. Again, I'd use a little smaller hook, 12 or so, and 10, 12, something like that, and try red worm and even regular worm. If blue bream starts showing up, you can target them for a little bit and get a few markers. They'll be worth your while. They're pretty good return on investment. That's a very fast bite on that top line. I think we've got 3 fish on right now. I'm going to get this one next because it's got the most slack in it, so I don't want it to pop off. The first line seems to be pretty steady. I don't think it'll come off. I haven't really noticed. Have we gotten any points in bottom fishing? Oh yeah, we're almost at 50, 49.8. Okay. So we'll be switching to inline rig very soon. Look at this little guy. Little bream minnow. Probably during the next video, in fact, we'll be switching to inline. Loop rig is my favorite for pretty much all situations. I do sometimes use method with carp, and obviously there's some fish you want to do basic bottom, but I use a lot of loop rig on my main accounts. But inline rig works really well too until you do unlock loop rig, and some people really like inline. Some people put points in inline and kind of never look back, but I've just found loop rig to be very good. And we'll fish for bream till about 7 or 8 a.m. And then we'll go check out the fish prices and all that. We've definitely seen a drop off here, a little bit of size. I can't tell. Might should have picked up that second line first. Not sure, it was doing some weird acrobats over there. But it's not pulling the line, and I did lower the brake, so it should be fine. Yeah, we're good. This is such a good spot. Looks like We're going to have to deal with some of these smaller ones for now, but I still think there'll be big ones mixed in. How are we looking on weight? 2.2, 1.9, 1.7, 1.5, 1.4, 1.4, 1.2s, 1.1s. 18 over a kilo. It's pretty nice. Pretty nice silver. Pretty fun fishing. So we're level 16. By the way, technically, that means we can go to quarry. I think it'll still be a while before we go to quarry, but technically we could. There's inline rig. Well, let's go ahead and switch that. You have to reattach everything. But we didn't switch the line, so the clip stays. So we're now using inline rig, which the description says is perfectly suited for fishing small, cautious fish. The feeder in this rig slides freely along the main line, thus not distracting fish from approaching and swallowing the bait. The other consideration, as you see, I still haven't used this point, is will we put points in inline or just hang out till 70% and then put points in loop rig? I just don't know. Haven't decided yet. There's not a lot else we want to put points in since we're primarily doing bottom fishing. Eventually we'll want points in simple bottom rig, but we're not going to be, until quarry, we're not going to be doing a lot of simple bottom rig fishing. Most likely. So it's kind of tough to say. The other thing we could do is put another point in harvesting baits just so that we don't screw up. I mean, so we have less failures on shoveling, but I don't really want to do that. Whatever we do, we know that once we get in our 20s, we would likely reset the skills to take points off of some places, reposition them. So it wouldn't hurt to put points in inline, even if the end goal is not to necessarily have points in the inline rig. But we'll just have to see. Hopefully we'll catch a fish on this inline rig before we stop fishing here for the morning. That was so small, I was really hoping it would be a blue, but even if it was a blue, it wouldn't be a marker. Oh, I meant to switch that. Oh well. Just curious, how many worms are we up to now? 439. Need some more bread. Yeah, when you put slack in it, it looks like it does sort of drift down the river a little bit. Which makes it even more important just to be as sure as you can that you've got a fish on when you pick it up, because that's going to certainly mess with the bite if you pick it up mid-bite. A couple more sessions in this spot, we're going to be 17, level 17. And if you weren't aware, once you hit 20, you start getting 2 skill points per level, and once you hit 30, you start getting 3 skill points per level. Well, this is when I was going to stop, but I was really hoping to get that one fish on an inline. Might just have to wait till next time, though. Oh, wow. A last-minute bite there. We're going to try to get an inline fish one way or another here. Here we go. Straight as a ruler. All right, let's give those just a minute, see if we can catch another fish or two. We'll try this a little more. I think there's a fish on the third rod there. Pulled it right out of the fish's mouth. It wasn't a good bite. No, there's not. Alright, I guess we'll go ahead and just pull them in. Alright. Let's go check out fish prices and see what's up. Ended up with 63 fish. A reasonable percentage of markers. Really good night of bream. And a really fun surprise trophy chub. Come on, trophy chub order. Imagine having that blue bream order right now. That would be pretty amazing. Okay, so. And we weren't far off either. Yeah, look, that blue bream. 271 grams worth over 7.5 silver. Trophy chub, 76 silver by itself, so that pushes us over 200 silver. 2.7 chub worth over 10 silver, and then all of these nice bream just fill it out. So we need to remember that, okay? 207.49, 207.49. I want to make sure that all the ground bait ingredients are here, so that we don't, make sure we don't need to buy them, and it looks like they are. Okay, so let's go to Oldberg. I've already forgotten. 207.49. 207.49. Now, obviously, you can't do cafe orders if you didn't catch the fish in the lake that you're selling them on. Typically, you get a little bit more silver selling fish at a higher level lake. However, it's not usually worth doing that because of the travel costs to go to a higher level lake. But let's see if it's the case here. Yeah, 228.43. All right. Most expensive fish, that trophy chub. So, what do we need to get? What we need to get is grasshoppers, and they're a little expensive, but you're definitely making a lot back. 90. Let's get times 3. That's 90 grasshoppers. And then let's check out their leaders. Oh, am I thinking of the wrong place on leaders? Oh, they do have the 6.4 in stock. That's actually what we want. So where, maybe it was Mosquito that had more leaders? I don't know. Let's go ahead and get a couple of these. And let's go ahead and switch this one to a 6.4. We should be able to find a reasonable hook option back at Winding. So that's all we needed at Oldberg. And then when we're ready to buy our next rod and reel, we'll probably have to go to what, Mosquito is where we got the last rod. Sorry, the last reel. These go up to 8 kilo. Like, are we going to put 7.5? I mean, you could put a 7.5 reel on the Asteria. It's not ideal, but while you're saving up for better ones, it would work. Because, you know, audio just, oh man, I am buying the wrong food. Those do give you a little bit of energy, but they don't put a lot of They don't fill you up. We should have eaten for free at Mosquito, or we can eat for free at Mosquito because it's free travel costs. So we were going to look at hooks, get a little nicer hook. I think these are 3.5 star. These are only 2.5 star. We could go to those. I like these a lot, but we're definitely getting more expensive. We could go to a size 6. Spend 17 silver on a nice chub hook. I think I'll do it. So now we've got a really nice happy hook here. And usually if you click on audio, that gets your sound back. Okay. I think we're good. So another really good, successful fishing experience. I almost always get a Fortuna feeder. It's sort of the next rod I typically go to. It is pretty pricey though, almost 500 silver, but it goes up to 19.5 kilos. So you can, the next 2 reels would be appropriate for that one. You could do this and still sort of do the same thing, save 100 silver. I don't know that it's worth it. I really like the Fortunas. Maybe we'll do 3 different rods though. We've already got one Fantasia. Maybe we'll do a Percy and then also a Fortuna. We'll see. And then reels. Just don't know if there's anything other than the Adriatica that we want to do. Maybe we could try one Hercules. It's a nice reel. We could I just like having variety while you're leveling. It's fun to have variety in my opinion, but there's definitely, like, to me, some of them are just kind of, this is the best answer, but yeah, we'll see. Okay, as always, thanks for watching and I will see you next time.